Hey, what up, everyone? Hey, I got some good news. I right before I got on here, I got on eBay to check the shipment of the books I ordered, and the books are in Toledo, and they're already picked up. So I may have them by Sunday. Fingers crossed. So the books for the Christian Atheist that we're going to be looking at when we're done with Daniel, I'm hoping to have them by Sunday to distribute. So. Hopefully everybody get here. Hey, Scott made it home today. Congratulations, Scott. Hope you're feeling much better, as I'm sure you are. And so glad to have you back in Auglaize County, my friend. Very good. Very, very good. Is that Marsha Bowman I see commenting in here? Marsha Bowman, seriously? All right. I'm proud of you guys. Dang. So very good. Congratulations to Amy being the first comment tonight. She had pizza for dinner and she misses everyone. And Amy, I miss pizza. So, I mean, I guess we're kind of the same in that way. So cool. Daryl Louth is here. Hey, DW. I got your text. I'll call you when we're done here tonight. Hey, Suze. Hey, Miriam. Audra Sutton, welcome back. Good to see you. Hey, Teresa and Jess Mack. Glad to have you guys tonight. Mr. Matt Clements is here. Tina and Mike are here. Appreciate you guys coming out. Hi, Dave and Amy. Hey, Mark Rudisil. Welcome back to you too, my friend. Good to see you. Hey, Ange. And Sherry Louth. Hello. Candy Dickey is here. Appreciate you coming out. Who else we got here? Margie and Doug are here. Hey, Joyce. That's right. Party can start. Joyce Koenig is in the house. So very good. And hello, Cheryl Cuck. It's a sunny day. Not necessarily a warm day, but yeah, that's right. Shout out to Marsha B. Let's hear it. Let's hear it for Joe and Marsha Bowman for the first comment in the entire history of YouTube. So let's everybody shout out to Marsha. That's awesome. So hi, Marge Tangeman. Hey, Jess Skinner. Bill Haar, how you doing? Christina Colville, good to see you. And I did have a pretty good day. I'm so happy to say that it is Wednesday night, and as I am speaking to you right now, the computer down in the sanctuary of the church is rendering the sermon for Sunday for First Light. And I'm going to drop that off to Kurt Eversman for editing for Sunday, and First Light is ready to go. We are getting this uploading stuff down to do a science, and that's always a nice thing to have off the to-do list. So, all right. And that's rendering right now, and hopefully then Kurt will be able to upload maybe tomorrow. So, cool. All right. Hey, Tim Dickey. Appreciate you coming out too. So, all right. What do I need to tell you guys? What do I need to announce? Anybody know of anything I need to announce? That's right, Angie. Yeah, you go, girl. That's right, Angie. I seem to feel like there was something I was supposed to announce tonight. Nice, Sherry. Does anybody remember what I was supposed to announce tonight? I feel like there was something I was supposed to tell you. The plan for Sunday, as Matt Clements asked, the plan for Sunday is exactly the same plan as last week. First Light will be online, as I just said, and then we're going to set up in the parking lot, have a service out there. Joe Sutton called me earlier tonight and had a little conversation. We're going to try to do the parking situation just a little different this week, but shouldn't be a big deal. But all of you who came out to help, I'd love to have your help next week with parking. Everything should be pretty much the same. So appreciate everybody who was helping. It was a great Sunday. Looks like the weather is going to be nice as far as not raining, but looks like it might be a little cooler. So I don't know that we're going to have as many. Might have a few hoodies floating around on Sunday, but at least it doesn't look like rain, at least not yet. So that's good news. So appreciate it, Matt. Appreciate your help, buddy. So did you all appreciate my subtle text message I sent a little bit ago where I said Tonight we're going to have a heated discussion. Did I at least get a what up for that? At least get a chuckle from somebody. Tell me I got a chuckle from somebody on that one. Somebody knew what I was talking about. Why I said heated discussion from the text message. Did anybody get that? Because I do things because I think they're hilarious. I thought that was actually pretty clever, and I'm watching. No one else got that. All right, Amy gave me a what up. There you go. So I just want to know if anybody else got my joke. That's right. The furnace is quite hot, Suze. Very good. Yep. We're going to heat it up here tonight. So, all right. Well, we are yet again looking at your good friend and mine. All right. Mark Rudisil gave me a giggle. If I made Mark Rudisil giggle, I am having a successful day today. So, I'm feeling it. So, excellent. Joyce says, I'm old. I was going to say, that's right. Retract that message there, Joyce. You're not old. So, yeah, I do not believe that Joyce Koenig is old. So there you go. So, all right, Mark, you made my day, buddy. I appreciate that. All right, so what do we got? We got chapter 1. We talked about how Daniel was in exile along with his buddies that we know today as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We talked about how Daniel and his buddies were taken into sort of this re-education camp, so to speak. They were trained in the ways of Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar's one of your favorites. All right, man, that's cool. Joyce says, takes me a couple days to catch on. I've not experienced that with you, Joyce. You seem like you're pretty sharp to me. So, yeah. So, anyways, we know that they were brought up in the ways of Babylon and try to stamp out their old ways. Daniel and his boys didn't go for that. So they decided to just eat vegetables rather than the pork chops that the king was offering. And they continued to train and showed a lot of skill. Finally, Daniel was able to interpret a dream. If God can rebuild him, I know I have a chance. That's probably true. Of course, I don't know that Nebuchadnezzar's. I don't know that his. I don't know if his story ends all that happily. We'll see. So, anyways, so they decided to reject the culture. They maintain their old religious practices, serving the one true God with a capital G. So they interpret the dream. Nebuchadnezzar promotes them immediately to high ranking in the position in the kingdom. As you can imagine, there's probably going to be some jealousy around that, as we're going to be seeing some examples of here tonight and for the next couple of days. And so everybody's out to get Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and Daniel because they are jealous, angry of what they were able to do. So, all right, so that's where we are. We're now in Daniel chapter 3 after all that happened. And we're going to take a look at what's going on here. Now, King Nebuchadnezzar, as we have pointed out, is the guy is a tad impulsive. All right, he's a tad of a short fuse. He tends to do things without thinking them through as much as he should, and sometimes his brain gets out or gets way behind his mouth and gets way behind his decision-making process, and he does a lot of crazy things. I say this to say, do y'all remember the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had? Remember what he dreamed about? Daniel told him that he dreamed about a statue that had a gold head and a silver chest and bronze abdomen and iron legs and then clay feet. And we all said, I'm not a structural engineer, but I'm not feeling that. The clay and the feet seem to be a problem. We have had a long day. So the clay and feet seem to be a problem. And so we don't think that should be. Well, Daniel says, that represents some trouble that's coming. So based on that dream and Daniel's interpretation of that dream and kind of how that whole thing goes. What's the last thing that we all think that Nebuchadnezzar should do based on that dream of this statue that fell down because a piece of a mountain fell on it and knocked it over? What's the last thing we think we should do? While you're considering the last thing that you think Nebuchadnezzar should do and follow up to that dream, allow me to read to you Daniel chapter 3, verse 1, and then we will have a time of reflection. King Nebuchadnezzar made a gold statue 90 feet tall and 9 feet wide and set it on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Can you think of anything that would be a worse idea for Nebuchadnezzar to do at this point than to build a statue after the dream that he had? Is there a worse idea? I mean, I guess jumping off a building would be a bad idea. Trying to pet a wild boar would probably be a bad idea. But I would say after having a dream about a statue that fell over, building a statue might not be the way we want to go. But hey, Nebuchadnezzar, you do you. So there you go. So he builds a statue, verse 2. Then he sent messages to the high officers, officials, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all provincial officials to come to the dedication of the statue he had set up. So the guy had a dream about a statue that fell over, built a statue, and invited everybody to come and see it. Okay, verse 3. So the officials came and stood before the statue King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Yes, Teresa, the guy is a tad full of himself. He's a tad on the arrogant side, and I'm saying that with full sarcasm because it's a terrible problem. Verse 4. Then a herald shouted out, "People of all races, nations, and languages, listen to the king's command. When you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipes, and other musical instruments, bow to the ground and worship Nebuchadnezzar's golden statue." Okay, so when the band strikes up, this band of horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipes, and other musical instruments, maybe we should talk to the Awaken band, because quite frankly, I've been a little disappointed at the lack of zithers that we've had in the band. I really feel like we dropped the ball on what could be really an incredible thing. I say that having absolutely no clue in this world what a zither is, but I feel like I should have one in my church, but there you go. So the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, and the pipes, and other musical instruments. When you hear those, you got to bow down and worship the statue. This has been decreed by the guy who saw or had a dream of a statue that fell down. There you go. So, all right. So, and it's not just like this is a recommendation or this is something important to do or it's something fun. No. Verse 6. Anyone who refuses to obey will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace. Anybody see a problem with that? Not just stabbed, because stabbing is for, stabbing was so yesterday. Joe says Josh's zither ability is off the charts. I have to call Josh and check on that and tell him I expect some zither in our worship band here sometime soon. So, not just stabbed, not just fed to the Loch Ness Monster, not just shot out of a cannon. No. If you don't do this, we're going to incinerate you in a fiery furnace. Anybody see a problem with that? So when you hear the band strike up the zither and various things, you better be bowing, not to Nebuchadnezzar, bowing to worship the statue. I don't even have a comment on that. I don't know why this is a thing, but it's a thing. So, So Nebuchadnezzar says, do this. If you don't, we're going to throw you into the fiery furnace. Okay, so here we go. Okay, verse 7. So at the sound of the musical instruments, all the people, whatever their race or nation or language, bowed to the ground and worshiped the gold statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. So just about. What about a cowbell, Tina? You get a gold star on tonight because you know what? I got a hankering, and the only thing that's going to deal with it is more cowbell. Christopher Walken, let's do this. Yeah. Tina, you just double made my day. That's fantastic. Can't have a band without a cowbell in it, and you got to have Will Ferrell playing it too. So, all right, very good. Yes, this is idol worship. It's a handheld instrument that you play with chords and then to strum the strings. Okay. I now know what the zither is. I did not know before. So, all right. So basically, he wants everybody to worship the idol. So the decree goes out. Zither and cowbell. We'll be rocking it out then. Yeah. Well, you tell Mike you did a nice job, Tina. I'm terribly impressed with that. So, because now I have a hankering, and the only answer is more cowbell. So that was back when Saturday Night Live used to actually be funny. So, anyways, yeah. All right. Okay, so this decree goes out. We can already tell this is a horrible idea. Every time the band plays, everybody has to bow down to the statue. Doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're riding your donkey or riding your camel or you're, playing with your kids, you're trying to cook dinner. You hear that, buddy? Your face better be on the ground or you're going to get burned up. Anybody with half a brain looks at this and says, I can see where this is going. So, but some of the astrologers, remember, they're part of the group that screwed up the dream interpretation. Some of the astrologers went to the king and informed on the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, I mean, you gotta love tattletales, right? I mean, you gotta love it. Long live the king, they said. You issued a decree requiring all people to bow down and worship the gold statue when they hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harps, pipes, and other musical instruments. That decree also states that those who refuse to obey must be thrown into a blazing furnace. Gosh, I wonder who's not doing it. I wonder why the astrologers are so excited about worshiping statues. All right, so that decree also states that those who refuse to obey must be thrown into a blazing furnace. But these Jews, verse 12, yes, Joe, you hear set up definitely. But these Jews, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, whom you put in charge of the province of Babylon. I mean, I don't even have to make fun of this, do I? I mean, this is kind of hilarious of its own right. Who you put in charge of Babylon, so you made it powerful and you gave them stuff, and you did all this, and they're not worshiping the statue at the proper time. They pay no attention to you, your majesty. They refuse to serve your gods and do not worship the gold statue you set up. So they're not into worshiping the statue. Hey, Cheryl and Jack, glad you guys are here. They are very much not into worshiping the statue. So they hear the song and they don't grovel toward the statue or whatever you're supposed to do. Okay, so just proving that King Nebuchadnezzar, again, a tad on the impulsive side, verse 13. Now remember, we are, 13, 14 verses removed from Daniel saving the day. Nebuchadnezzar is like, oh my gosh, give him the big house and give him the cool stuff, give him the money, give him the position, give him the cool hat, everything. He's going to be number 2 in the kingdom. Daniel says, hey, don't forget, I need my boys up here too. So Nebuchadnezzar, absolutely, bring the boys up here. And so Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego come up and join Dan. I mean, there were 13 verses removed from that. And Nebuchadnezzar now flies into a rage. Verse 13. Then Nebuchadnezzar flew into a rage and ordered that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought before him. When they were brought in, Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you refuse to serve my gods or worship the gold statue I've set up?" Now remember, we just in the previous chapter at the interpretation of the dream of the statue with the clay feet, we just identified that these guys could do things the astrologers, magicians, and soothsayers could not do. We just established that in the previous chapter. My question is, why is Nebuchadnezzar surprised they don't? You know what? These astrologers must know my sister too. Also know my sister too, Tim. My tattletale sister. Well, I think we all had one of those. Why is Nebuchadnezzar surprised? He should have known these guys weren't going to do it. The astrologers knew they weren't going to do it. They knew catching these guys that this was going to be simple. So they bring him in there and ask. So basically, they're putting Nebuchadnezzar on the spot. They are, yes, the king thought he was all powerful, Mark, clearly. And the king is about to find out different. So, okay, so we'd already seen this God, the capital G God, the real true God, do something that the astrologers couldn't do. That was inspire Daniel to interpret this dream. Nebuchadnezzar has already witnessed that happening. He's already seen it with his own eyeballs. Saw this happen. So now, for some reason, he's shocked that these three guys don't bow down to the statue like they're supposed to. So verse 15. I will give you one more chance to bow down and worship the statue I've made when you hear the sound of the musical instruments. Okay? We're going to cue up the band one more time. If you guys kneel, we're cool. You know, we'll just figure you stub your toe or something and we'll be fine. But if you refuse, you will be thrown immediately into the blazing furnace. And then what God, with a little g, what God will be able to rescue you from my power? That question is going to get answered here in just short order. Now, these three guys, the three boys, they are about to answer King Nebuchadnezzar. And honestly, one of the most underrated, awesome verses in the Bible. Okay? That's right, Joe. We're going to rise up. This is one of the most awesome there are some great verses in the Bible. There really are. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they're about to have their, sometimes in movies, they'll have special lines just so they can show them in the trailer and make everyone excited. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, maybe not major biblical characters, but they're about to have one of those moments. One of those moments that we all hear this and we're like, yeah, that's how you do things. I mean, it's worth getting excited about because this is a great quote. And you might want to memorize this one because Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's response to King Nebuchadnezzar is absolutely classic. I mean, these are the kind of lines they give to like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that because that's how cool they are, all right? So Nebuchadnezzar says, yeah, one more chance, guys. We're going to cue up the band, and if you kneel, we're fine. Here's their response. Verse 16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied, "Oh, Nebuchadnezzar, we don't need to defend ourselves before you. If we're thrown into the blazing furnace, the God whom we serve is able to save us. He will rescue us from your power, your majesty. But even if he doesn't, we want to make it clear to you, your majesty, that we will never serve your gods or worship the gold statue you have set up. We just want to be real clear about this. You can incinerate us to dust, and we ain't bowing down." My friends, that is how bosses do things right there. I mean, that is fantastic. You know, you can incinerate us or not. It doesn't make us any difference. We ain't bowing to no statue. And thanks for asking. That is how you do things when you're a boss. Now, as people who are impulsive and who are a tad, impulsive, Nebuchadnezzar's response is actually quite predictable. Nebuchadnezzar was so furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that his face became distorted with rage. That is angry. I mean, have you ever been so angry that your face became distorted with rage? Anybody ever have that experience? I can remember once my mom's face got distorted with rage when my sister and I left silly putty on the carpet and it kind of got ground in. Yeah, that nothing good ever follows somebody getting their face distorted with rage. No, seriously, nothing good ever follows that. So, in order to make his face better, I suppose he says, "Throw some more wood in the fire." Right. So he commanded that the furnace be heated 7 times hotter than usual. So he takes the old thermostat, turns it up to 117 degrees. That's right, Mark. This is the murder hornet effect. That's exactly what's going on here. So I mean, he is just gone into lunaticville with how mad he is. So he heats the furnace up to 7 times hotter than usual. How hot is it? Well, let me tell you. Then he ordered the strongest men of his army. Why the strongest men? I don't know. But he got the strongest guys to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing furnace. So they take these guys up there. Okay, so these tough guys tied them up and threw them into the furnace, fully dressed in their pants, turbans, robes, and other garments. Okay, so I mean, they just basically grabbed them, tied them up, went in, threw them in. And because the king, in his anger, had demanded such a hot fire in the furnace, the flames killed the soldiers when they threw the 3 men in. So the guys up on the top, I'm guessing on the top, I'm not sure exactly how this furnace works, but they're so hot up there that they died from the heat outside of the furnace. That's hot. That is a serious hot furnace we got going on there. So, I mean, this is as hot as it gets. Oh, geez, hang on, my computer's about to die. You guys got me all fired up here. I got to plug my computer in. There we go. Okay, so this super hot furnace, and so hot that they killed him. Maybe he thought they needed the strongest men because he was afraid that God would intervene. Maybe, but we're going to find out that those strong men didn't help because they didn't live very long. So that's right. That's a barbecue. You better believe it. So that's super hot. And so it's so hot it killed guys outside of the furnace. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego fell down into the furnace. All right. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, securely tied, fell into the roaring flames. So in they go. I mean, if it's so hot, it's killing people outside of the furnace. It's really hot, and so these 3 guys went in, and everybody was expecting this not to last long. So apparently, from some distance away, Nebuchadnezzar is watching this. So from a safe distance, they're looking down because, hey, we're tossing people in the furnace. We want to watch them incinerate. So Nebuchadnezzar, from a safe distance, he looks down in there and he's watching them and he's like, wow, it killed the guys who threw them in. It seems like it should have incinerated them faster than this. But suddenly, verse 24, Nebuchadnezzar jumps up in amazement and exclaimed to his advisors, didn't we tie 3 men to throw them in the furnace? How many people did we throw in? You would think not that much time has passed. You would think he would remember there were 3, but he doesn't. So Nebuchadnezzar is outside of the furnace, and he's looking down in there from a safe distance, and he's going, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. I mean, there's 2, and there's 2. Well, that's 4. And then he goes, how many did we throw in? Why do I only remember 3? Okay. So, That's right. Those strong soldiers, Bill, did not impress God very much because it killed them, but God actually kept kept the other three guys alive. So Nebuchadnezzar is now confused about how many people went into the furnace because the count that he's got now doesn't match the count of the people who went in. So he says, "Did we throw in three guys?" "Yes, Your Majesty, we certainly did," they replied. They're like, "Yes, King. 10 seconds ago, when we tossed them in, there were three." "Well, look," Nebuchadnezzar shouted, "I see four men, unbound, walking around in the fire, unharmed, and the fourth looks like a god." Oh, so the God who empowered Daniel to interpret the dream, the God that these three guys were, or these four guys were worshiping when they were not bowing down to the statue, apparently has jumped in the furnace with them. Remember, they were securely tied up. We're told that like two or three times. The ropes burned off, but they were not singed. So I see four men unbound walking around unharmed, and the fourth looks like a god. Something funky's going on here. Then Nebuchadnezzar came as close to the door of the flaming furnace, came as close as he could to the door of the flaming furnace. So from some distance away, but as close as he could get, he goes, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God." Nebuchadnezzar's tune has changed a little bit. Tim says, "No one said you had to be good at math to be king." That's right, because 3 minus 3 equals 4 somehow. "Servants of the Most High God, come out! Come here!" So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stepped out of the fire. Now, my friends, don't forget, there are incinerated dead bodies up on the ramp. Again, I'm not sure how all the setup is, but there's dead guys laying up there. And the guys who went into the furnace stepped out. So, okay, they stepped out of the fire. Again, dramatic moment, to say the least. Then the high officers, officials, governors, and advisors, basically all the people who were there, crowded around them and saw that the fire had not touched them. Not a hair on their head was singed. Their clothing was not scorched. They didn't even smell like smoke. So the fire that killed these strong soldiers when they threw them in somehow did not touch these three guys. And not only did it not burn them, it didn't even burn their clothes. They came out, and they walked away from the fire, because remember, Nebuchadnezzar's like, "Hey, why don't you guys come on out?" Well, you see him step out, and they come walking this way, because remember, it says the king got as close as he could. He wasn't right outside the door. He was back far enough because he didn't want to end up like those guys. And so he yells it out there. And can you imagine the dramatic moment when these guys come out and they're walking toward everybody and everybody's like, "How did they do that? How did that happen?" Again, the same response they gave when Daniel was able to interpret the dream. But yeah, so they have this dramatic moment where they open the door and you can imagine a huge, gush of fire comes out the door because the thing was heated hotter than it should have been. And out walks these three guys. Apparently, the fourth, the angel, leaves by another way. But they're okay, unharmed. They didn't even smell like smoke. Verse 28. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, "Praise to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego." The God I just denied, 5 minutes ago. The God that I tried to squelch. The guy I got mad. I'm now praising the God that I was mad that these guys were not turning their back on 5 minutes ago. These guys who just passed through a furnace so hot it killed people on the outside. That's how hot it was. Yeah, that's right, Cheryl. Walked out without even singed hair. In fact, I don't even smell them. Uh, Nothing. That God, in that amount of time, the king went from kind of mad about the, or kind of mad. I distorted my face because I was so mad. That's pretty angry. To praise that God in 5 minutes or less. I've never seen a miracle like this personally, but I can imagine this would be this would be very convincing. This would be very this would be this would be life altering to see these three guys do this because of what they believed. So Nebuchadnezzar changed his tune, which is interesting considering the tune is kind of what started this problem. But Nebuchadnezzar changed his tune, and he's now praising this God that he was 5 minutes ago trying to stamp out. So then verse 28, then King Nebuchadnezzar said, "Praise to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He sent his angel to rescue his servants who trusted in him. They defied the king's command and were willing to die rather than serve or worship any god but their own." It's an interesting question, Joe. Are we Nebuchadnezzar in this story? I think sometimes we do need this much convincing, or at least we want this much convincing. But yeah, the thing you have to appreciate about this story, though, is it's not just Nebuchadnezzar that saw this. There were a lot of people who witnessed this that day, and there's a lot of people who went, "Hmm, this is really something." Now, God did a miracle here. God did something absolutely amazing. I am in no way disputing that. But let's hear it for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Because if they don't, if they simply put a knee to the ground when the music starts and say, "Fine, the statue's great," none of this happens. This miracle was performed by God, but it was initiated by three guys who said, "You can do whatever you want to do. We ain't bowing to the statue. Thanks for asking." So yes, let's give God props for the miracle, of course, but let's also make sure we're giving some props to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego because they're the ones that initiated this. This miracle couldn't have happened if they weren't willing to go into the fire. So God sent the archangel asbestos. I hope not, because then they would have died of lung problems after that. But so maybe the nation that was supposed to change the Jews instead was changed themselves. We hope that's what happened. That certainly should have been what happened, because you can imagine a miracle like this would have had far-reaching reports, and lots of people would have heard about it. And and we could even make the argument that maybe that's why they were there. God sent Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to witness to the Babylonians. Had they bowed to the statue, they couldn't do that. And that's right, Mark. The same people who saw the soldiers roasted also witnessed God protecting these grace-filled heroes. It's exactly right. You got to see both. The most powerful guys in the army, strongest guys, tough guys, couldn't even survive outside of the furnace. And God protected these other three guys inside the furnace. So that's where we are now. I got a little bit more here, and then we're gonna move on. Nebuchadnezzar has to change his tune in order to continue his rule. Yes, he needs to. Unfortunately, though, let me look here. He finds out he doesn't. He actually loses his mind at one point. Nebuchadnezzar actually goes insane for a while. We're going to read about that tomorrow. But God goes to great lengths to convert Nebuchadnezzar and eventually gets him there, but it takes a while. And it takes a lot of experiences like this one. Nebuchadnezzar did put Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in a furnace, but he is not the one who does Daniel in the lion's den, which obviously is the famous story that we're going to be getting to in a couple days. So, all right. So let's, you say, Mark says, Nebuchadnezzar needs to change his tune. Well, let me tell you what the new tune was. Verse 29. Therefore, I make this decree. So Nebuchadnezzar's changing the decree. If any people, whatever their race or nation or language, speak a word against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they will be torn limb from limb, and their houses will be turned to heaps of rubble. There is no other God that can rescue like this. Remember the statue? Yeah, we're not gonna bow to the statue anymore. That probably was not the right thing to do, especially considering I had a dream about falling statues. I just, on second thought, it's probably a bad idea. But so what are we going to replace that with? Well, the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the God who can protect his faithful servants from fire. So they went from. So again, in 5 minutes, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego went from making the king distort his face with rage. That is some serious anger going on there. Goes from that to what's going on my phone? He goes from that to this. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to even higher positions in the province of Babylon. So when the king's face gets distorted with rage and he's that angry, do you think there's any way he would have believed that, hey, Nebuchadnezzar, in 5 minutes you're going to give me a promotion? I mean, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's statement of faith is pretty awesome, but that would have been a great way. That would have been a great way to end that, wouldn't it? Be like, thanks for the invitation to bow to the statue. I think we're going to pass. We don't really need another chance. Doesn't matter what you do, we're not going to do it. And when Nebuchadnezzar starts to have his complete meltdown, be like, 5 minutes from now, you're going to be promoting us. I guess that's how bosses do things. But anyways, so Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego passed through the furnace, something that no one else could do, obviously, because this furnace was super hot. And because of that, Nebuchadnezzar had his eyes open a little bit. God's going to continue working on Nebuchadnezzar, and we're going to read about that tomorrow, how he completely loses his mind, and how that sets up a conversion, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So, all right, I know we're a little early. We're gonna put a pin in it there because I don't want to get involved in the next section. We're gonna look at Daniel chapter 4 tomorrow. We make our kids and families bow down to the idols we create: sports, busyness, work, etc. And then God steps in during those times and strips us of those many idols. Wow, it almost seems like you're commenting on this COVID-19 shutdown there, Joe. It's funny. We were having this conversation with the youth earlier tonight about how this season of great disruption to what's normal gives us a chance to kind of reflect on our lives. And it will be interesting to see on that day when we try to go back to normal. Again, who knows when that's going to be. But it's going to be interesting to see when things start to go back toward normal. Be interesting to see how much of the rat race people actually jump back into. I almost wonder if this COVID-19 shutdown shows people that their kids don't have to be in every available sports league, and they don't have to, give up every single night chasing kids to practice, and they don't have to have them in everything that there is. And maybe we don't need all this stuff going on. Maybe we should allow more time for families to be together, or kids to just play outside and not have to be in something organized all the time. And, I pray that that's one of the outcomes of this shutdown is that we realize that this just insane thing that that everybody thought they had to get to, that maybe maybe travel baseball wasn't that big of a thing, and maybe having the kids in 5 different soccer leagues in a year, maybe that's not necessary. I mean, sure, sports are great. I played sports too, but I hope that we learn some priorities through this, and that we don't need to be involved in everything, every sports thing. I hope that's what comes out of this, because I know a lot of people were worshiping at the altar of sport, and it made me sad, because everybody kept, you try to plan things and try to get things together, and people would tell you they're too busy. And the question I would always ask is, busy doing what? What exactly are you doing that's making you so busy? And I'm not saying you got to be here to do the church stuff all the time, but I mean, you look at people who are practically frantic, running after stuff, and I just want to know, what are you running after? What is it you're trying to get to? What are you trying to achieve? Um, you know, I just I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm happy that we haven't been able to do anything for 2 months. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that I think Americans need a little bit of perspective, and I'm hoping that this shutdown provides it for us, because I'm afraid what the next step is. And Tim Dickey, I will give 2 amens to that. Why we need sports to be on Sunday mornings, I just don't know. Teach our kids how to love and not what to love. Wow, Joe, nicely done, my man. Maybe we should be teaching our kids how to love and not what to love. Wow. Hey, that should be a slogan on our "What's Your This" T-shirt, or "My God Has a Capital G" T-shirt. We're teaching kids how to love, not what to love. That's very good. All right, there's a couple comments here I missed. Nebuchadnezzar's problem is that he may have recognized how powerful God is, but still not recognize him as the one and only God. That's true. God clearly had witnessed, or Nebuchadnezzar clearly witnessed God, capital G, God doing some things. But, 3 guys who passed through a furnace so hot it killed people on the outside to come out not even smelling like smoke. That's tough. That's tough to miss that. That is a good prayer. We have tried to teach that in pediatrics, but not many people can resist. The call of sports, Cheryl, I assume that's what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm not sure that, all this pushing of little bodies or even bigger bodies is a good thing. I mean, I'm all for fitness and running and being in shape in that, but some of this stuff, I mean, it was almost to a cult status, and I'm hoping that we can get away from that. Travel T-ball teams, pass. Yeah. Joyce said, I can only pray that happens. How quickly people forget. Amen to that, Joyce. People have a very short memory, as Nebuchadnezzar illustrates. He went from promoting Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to bringing them in to question them, to having his face distorted with rage, to promoting them back higher than they were before in a period of 5 minutes. So yes, ma'am. How quickly people forget. The COVID shutdown has certainly hurt the church too. We come too comfortable watching our computers. That's my fear. We have become so proficient at this, and I'm afraid we're going to give up the personal contact. Gosh, I hope not. I hope not. I can't argue with you, Candy. I mean, certainly it has, but it's my greatest fear is that the church will dry up and die because we want this convenient way of getting together, or we're afraid to get together. We think we're going to catch some invisible enemy and die from it. And I'm just, I don't know. Let's see. Miriam. Yeah, you and I could pray the same prayer, Miriam. COVID-19 has allowed our family to be able to have dinner together again. Such a blessing for us. I know. I can't even tell you how rare it was for families. I mean, obviously I live by myself now, so I eat a lot of meals by myself. But how many families You know, I've even heard teachers say in school they're having a hard time getting kids to sit together and eat because we don't ever do that ever without 50,000 things going on. So I'm glad that you recognize that, Tina. And Audra says, "Nope, I miss my hugs." Amen, amen, Audra. I'll give you a what up for that. And Scott Moran will too. Can we have iPads during service from the back rows? See from the back row better, Joe. No. Besides, you don't even sit in the back row. But yeah, yeah. It reminds me of that horrible cartoon. What was the name of that horrible cartoon? It was just terrible. Oh, it was one of those really debaucherous. Anyways, one of the main characters, his TV broke, and he starts going insane because he can't watch TV. So he loses his mind and he gets this box and he cuts a little hole in it and he walks around so he can look at everything like it's on TV and he pretends the whole world is TV. And I think that's what I'm picturing that people will do. It's like they'll turn the camera feature on their phone and walk around like this so they can look at the world the way they're used to it. I'm a little concerned about that. So Cheryl says Jay and I are the opposite. I'm going over tomorrow to see my parents for the first time in 2 months. I'm going to drive over there tomorrow and visit them. I'll probably have to stand outside the window and I'll have to wear a mask and all that stuff. But that's what it is. Yeah. So believe me, Cheryl, I'm completely with you. My mom is not in very good health, and I just can't go over there. So I miss the hugs. Amy misses hugs. Marge, hope and pray that this will happen because we need family. Amen, Marge. Absolutely. And I know, Joyce, I know we miss it. I miss you too. It was so great to come over and see you when I came to do that video for you and your little Earth Day sign. So, all right. Firmware seating is the best according to my grandchildren. Well, your grandchildren know something. So, Angie agrees with Joyce. Very good. So, to put a reflection on this, what happened in Daniel chapter 3 with the furnace and the fire? Audra, the hug station is open with Audra Sutton. So there you all go. You can all send her an emoji hug, which I know is not nearly as good. But one thing you got to remember is what Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were able to do is put forth a witness. And they were able to do this because they had that just awesome statement about, we're just going to save you the trouble. We ain't going to bow to no statue. But none of that would have worked if the people weren't present. And I think that maybe that's going to be the takeaway from the lesson that we just talked about is you got to be present for this stuff to work. Nebuchadnezzar, as crazy of a man as he was, never would have been able to say, maybe there is something to this God that they're talking about had he not been present. And I pray that we as a culture through this COVID-19 shutdown, I pray that we don't lose the value of presence, of being present. I don't mean presence like, with a bow. I'm talking about presence of actually being there. I think about Sunday, how awesome it was to gather out in the parking lot. As stupid as that whole thing was, it was so awesome to be together, in the same place and hear the band play and, be able to preach in front of a live audience. Preaching in front of an empty sanctuary is hard. And, I just hope that maybe we learn a lesson. And I hope one of those lessons that we learn is the value of presence, the value of being present. Because there, as Tina says, there's no stronger witness than in-person testimony. And that is the gospel truth. So, all right. So, man, we're having a hug fest going on over here. So, yeah, Cheryl, Sunday made me happy too. And I'm actually looking forward to this week. I hope you all will come and join us. We'll have First Light on at 8:30. Will be a live premiere on YouTube, and then we'll be together at 10:45 out in our south parking lot to celebrate together. The sermon on Sunday is from Ruth chapter 4, and it's about confidence. We're going to talk about confidence on Sunday and how we need, as the people of God, to reclaim our confidence because we have been a little lax on that. And we need to step up to the plate and be people of confidence because we serve a God who makes people walk through furnaces so hot they kill people on the outside. I mean, that's a God worth having confidence in. And it's certainly something that we want to be a part of. So, all right, guys. Anything? Anybody else got anything? I know we're a few minutes early. I got to run down to the sanctuary and hopefully get the sermon. So, very good, Mark. So, and Jess, we certainly do serve a huge God. So, and don't any of you forget it. Take a look at the new book we are going to review. Pastor Tim, God is working through you. All right, well, let's take a look at that. When we're done with Daniel, whatever that works out to be, the next book we're going to be looking at is. Are you serious? Really? Oh my word! Are you serious right now? There it is. The Christian Atheist. And this is what we're going to be looking at next. This is the same guy that wrote. Is that backwards in the screen? It's backwards on my screen. Is this backwards to you? Somebody tell me, is this printed backwards? It's backwards on my screen. Is it backwards on yours? Anyways, this is the book we're doing next. The same guy that wrote Dangerous Prayers. And I'm kind of excited to read this one. Okay. Yeah, on my screen, it was backwards. So that was kind of weird. But all right. And that's the one we're going to look at. You can get that from Amazon. I have ordered 9 physical copies of that. One's coming from Michigan and one's coming from Toledo. So I'm hoping they get here before Sunday. And if all y'all who want one, if you could purchase one or on Kindle, or if you can get one on Hoopla or borrow one from the library, please do that. Don't take my physical copies, but for those of you who want them, I have 9 coming. I'm hoping they'll be here by Sunday, and we'll be able to distribute them on Sunday. So, and Jess has been failing at social distancing. Way to go, Jess. So just be careful because Jess is living with somebody who has strep throat. So COVID-19 is not your only concern. The books I purchased were $4 a piece. And I paid for it out of my pocket. So don't write a check to the church. I paid for it personally. So, so very good. All right. You guys, Miriam got it on your Kindle. Good. That's right, Scott. Families pray for each other. And I got to tell you, buddy, I'm super glad that you're home and back in Auglaize County, because that's where we all want you. So. All right, I'm turning this off. All right, everybody. I think I'm going to cut you loose here for tonight. Thank you so much. As always, you honor me with your presence. Thank you for sharing your evening with me and having a little talk about Daniel. Tomorrow night, we're going to look at King Nebuchadnezzar losing his mind, which I know seems like something that already has happened, but he's really going to lose his mind tomorrow. And we're going to find out what's happening with him. So I want you all to have a good night's sleep tonight. Get up tomorrow and get after it. And I also got one last thing I need you all to do for me. I need you to go wash your hands. Good night, everybody.